Well, quick turnaround coming off a very good win, great home environment the other night in Wyoming. Is coming off their bye week, and so that's always a little bit unnerving because I know how those bye weeks are. The guys get recouped, refreshed, both mentally, physically, and then coaches always like to add a few new things and sometimes change up their personnel a little bit. So we got to expect the unexpected and be ready for anything. And they are a team that gives you a lot of different looks the way it is. So. They can play big, they can play small. They have a lot of versatility. In particular, Maldonado, who they can move him all over the place in terms of what they do, and they do that. So puts a lot of pressure on you that way. And then their big kid, who's only a sophomore, Hunter Thompson. He's listed at 6'10", 235, is a guy that can really shoot it. So when he's their 5, it's a little bit unorthodox for Mountain West play to have a big guy like that can really stretch you out. So we're going to have to really be on point with our stuff that way. They're a young team. They're playing some new guys. It looks like I feel like they're playing their best basketball of the year once they've started playing the Marble Kid a lot more. So, and then you add on top of it, it's a difficult place to play in Wyoming. It's not the easiest place in the world to get to, and so we'll have to play well. We had our first win there since 1962 last year, and we reminded our guys of that today. So hopefully we can keep our momentum going and play well on Tuesday night.
Can I, it's off the subject of the game for a second.
You can ask anything.
Kobe Bryant's death.
Oh.
Your players are all guys who grew up with kind of him. I would imagine it's affected them a heck of a lot, I would imagine, of their development in basketball and what they followed.
Yeah, I mean, he's a stalwart certainly in the basketball world, and just kind of he's a legendary figure. He's an iconic figure, certainly in the United States, but all over the world. And you wake up on a Sunday morning, and normally a lot of times that's a day off for us, but with the Tuesday game, it wasn't. And I know how I felt when you heard the news, and how a lot of people probably felt, and it was just incredibly difficult. Not only the basketball piece, but then there's 7 or 8 other people on the helicopter and his daughter, and you really you think about a lot of different things, and you came into the film room and you could hear the guys talking about it, certainly, and nothing specific that I heard, but it's just different things, and you see some of the retweets that certain guys did, and we talked about it right at the end of practice yesterday, just a little bit like cherish every day, and enjoy your loved ones and your family and your friends, and you get to this point in the season where it's late January and it's kind of getting to the dog days a little bit. I hope our dog days are past, but it kind of gives you a perspective of how fortunate you really are with your health, with your family, and cherish your teammates and enjoy your time with them and the opportunities that you have, because sometimes I think you look at certain people as almost invincible, right? And then it just tells you how precious life is, so to speak, and so how vulnerable it is and how it can go so quickly. And so certainly a tough day for a lot of people, but sometimes, unfortunately, it takes something like this to maybe kind of reset what really matters in life and what is just such peripheral things that really has no bearing on anything, and it's just really drama that you can try to eliminate. So I'm not sure if that's what you were looking for, but
I was just wondering if how it affected players, because this would have been like he was the hero of a lot of the guys because of where they grew up and the age they're at.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I do think there was I didn't see anything necessarily on the floor, but I'm sure that has got guys thinking about some things in your life for sure.
Then now it's game specific. In conference games, Wyoming shooting more than 50% of their shots from 3. I mean that's teams shoot a lot of threes, a lot of teams, but that's way over the normal.
Yeah, I mean they shoot a lot of them, and they play a lower possession game. They try to shorten games, generally speaking, but they do shoot a lot of threes, and they got guys that can make them. And obviously, Utah State fans are very familiar with the young man, Jake Hendricks, that leads them in three-point attempts, and he shoots 8 a game. I think he had a game of 18 or 19 threes attempted in a game, and he's a really, really good shooter, and he flies around, and he makes some plays, including the last game where I think he made 4 or 5 against San Diego State and some very difficult ones. So they put a lot of pressure on you with that stuff because they got the ultimate green light, and like you said, about 50% of them are from the three. They're 55th in the country in three-point field goals attempted. So they let it fly, and that's where when teams do that, like, you got to really be on point with your spacing and where you're at and understand. And we had a little bit of issues with that early in the second half, the other night with number 31, Adam Thistlewood. So we just got to be on point with that. And then defensively, they're going to play. They've played a lot of man, but now they've been gearing more and playing a lot more of the matchup zone. And so we just got to be ready for both of those.
It's always hard when you're dealing with younger guys to keep them focused. You look at that 0-9, and but if you look at some of the games, I've probably watched 3 or 4 of their games just the way it's played out schedule-wise, late at night or whatever. And they've played some teams really close and should have won a couple of games.
Well, if you're watching them late at night, you're not watching us, Sean. But no, I'm kidding. We played a lot of Tuesdays. But no, you're right. They've had and that's their record. And I know every coach says this. Oh, the record is not misleading in what they are. But they're up 7 with less than a minute to go at home against UNLV, and they lose in overtime. And in the Nevada game, they were up 1 with less than 15 seconds to go, and they lose that game, and go right down the line. And so they're tough-minded. They're a tough-minded group. They're a tough-minded team. That's how Coach does a great job with them. And if they're not playing hard or playing tough, they're not playing. So it's the type of team that generally speaking, you got to beat them. And so with our guys, like I've said about 1,000 times, you get paid to be paranoid. But our guys have had a very good mindset for the last 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks, I don't know, since the game at Air Force. I've thought we've really had a great mindset. I thought our practices and our preparation have been outstanding, and hopefully we can keep trending in the right way. It was fun to see the other night Alfonso Anderson play his best game, and for sure since Christmas. Trevin just keeps getting better, and Bairstow just keeps getting better, and Diogo is starting to play, the way we all know he can play. So we need that, because there was a while there our bench was definitely lacking some production.
Coach, you during the Colorado State game, when I was watching the game, after Nemiash's ferocious dunk, they took a timeout. Coming out of the break, you looked at Nemiash and you said, "Finish it." Can you just talk about the killer mentality it takes? I mean, Sam has it, obviously, but just it takes to be able to be that kind of a player to finish off a team.
Yeah, that's I think great teams and great players know how to finish, and finish can mean so many things, right? You finish the game, you finish the half as a team. You come out in a great start after the at halftime, or then you got to finish each play, whether that means finishing plays around the basket on the offensive end, or as the shot clock winds down and you drive and kick it, you have an open 3, you got to finish that play. Not that you make every shot, finish each possession on the defensive end, right? With a box out and a two-handed rebound, or there's a 50-50 ball on the floor and be the first on the floor to get the ball. And so you got to be able to finish possessions, you got to be able to finish plays, you got to be able to finish games. And that's all encompassing, and that's been a very common theme for our team, quite frankly, since we've been here. But we certainly had a stretch where we were not finishing a lot of different things, and so that's been our theme in a monster way here. It always has been, but times 10 lately, because we need to finish things out. And Nimi's a very good player. But I could say that to Diogo, Brock. I've said it to everybody. It was probably a little more demonstrative to Nimi at that point in time, but you have to finish games.
This game could have a really interesting contrast, because if you're playing man-to-man, Nimi maybe has to follow Thompson outside. But in other terms, they're not real good rebounding and inside, and maybe you can take advantage of Nimi inside in this game against them.
Oh, there's no doubt. It could potentially be a real contrast in styles, and that's the beauty of basketball, and that's the beauty of the Mountain West. Air Force is a lot like that, right? And Air Force is different than Wyoming, but they are like that. And so you gotta, as coaches, you're really every time they sub and we sub, you're really okay. Who's hurting us right now? What's the matchup that we like? You know what I mean? How are they trying to manipulate the game? How can we try to manipulate the game? And there's a lot of games. It's check. I don't want to say it's checkers, but kind of. In this type of game, there's it can be a lot more involved with that, depending on how the flow of the game is going. So they put you in a lot of difficult spots, and probably even more so with us, kind of the way our roster is built. You know, last year we had. A guy like Quinn Taylor could play a lot of different spots. So you have that. This year we don't quite have always that versatility that maybe we had last year.